their subscribers, YouTubers, friends. Today it's Wednesday, so it means it's the first episode of Wank Wednesday. Exactly. Today we are going to talk about the Poland that is so much pushed, so far ahead that you could think that it's almost big power, or let's say a great power, exactly. I wouldn't even take superpower in my mouth yet, because even within the realms of alternate history, a global power wouldn't make much sense, or superpower wouldn't make much sense at the moment. So, guys, here we go. We can talk different points of divergences, which would actually benefit Poland in a great way. And now when I talk about Poland, I include also the state of Poland-Lithuania, which we also know as the Commonwealth. I'm not talking of the British Commonwealth, I'm talking about the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. And guys, just for your own information, Poland exists since almost more than 1,000 years. Well, of course, Poland changed. Also, the language evolved. Everything evolved. I mean, nothing stays intact for 1,000 years in human history. Except maybe for some really isolated tribes. But this is not our topic today. We're going to discuss on how we could make Poland really big. And the first point of divergence that I would take is one that I don't have actually now by heart. I mean, I don't know the date by heart, but early on in Polish history, there was, I think, King Mieszko, I'm not sure anymore, but there was a king who converted to Christianity, and something that is unknown to the greatest extent of the public, and that is something which I found out a little bit during my studies of history. There was actually a rebellion from the Slavic, paganic, or whatever you want to call these people, let's say the people of the old faith. They were rebelling against this conversion, also against other things, most likely, yes, but they were rebelling against it, and that was apparently one of the first times where Poland as state didn't exist anymore. But that was not because they were actually, I don't know, beating the Christians or beating the pagans, no. It was actually because the king and the elite of the country they converted, and the local population didn't accept it at the beginning. So there was no basis to start from, and it was like this that the kings, for very political reasons, just tried to join, let's say, the club of the big guys. But now let's assume this wouldn't happen. Of course, now you can say, wait. The Holy Roman Empire will attack Poland. They will make crusades. They will make here and there. Well, slow, be slow. And hold on for a moment. Compare Poland to other places. Poland is actually not such a tiny place, and everyone who would try to invade Poland, they will, even if they win, they would make huge losses. And now combine this to the fact that the population was rebelling against their own king, who was converting to Catholicism. Imagine now some Catholic foreigners as their kings. And as you know, in Polish history, the Poles, they always rebelled against any foreigner who just dared to take over control of their own country. So perhaps there would be successful invasions, but they wouldn't last for a long time and they would probably butthurt themselves. Now let's assume Poland actually manages not to convert, and during the troubled times of the Kievan Rus, they take advantage of it. The king would actually proclaim himself also as king of the Kievan Rus. The population would for sure not easily accept it, but let's now assume the best of the best scenarios, or the purpose of this Poland wank. And let's say he is basing himself upon this legend that you have of Lech, who is actually the father figure of modern Poland. Then you have Rus, who is the father figure of modern Russia, Belarus and Ukraine. And then you have also Czech, or Czech, who is the father figure of the Czech Republic, of course. He's also sometimes called Grandfather Czech. And let's now assume, just for the purpose of this Poland wank, he's able to control the Kievan Rus, or at least to some relatives, plus he would be able, and this happened in original timeline, around the year 1000, he's able to manage having control, or at least a foothold, in Bohemia. And now if everything goes well, and if the Polish kings are playing their cards right, they could actually prevent any invasion from Christian nor Islamic territories by uniting this pagan population against foreigners who are not Slavic in the first place, and then foreigners who want to impose their religion. Because think of it, Islam and Christianity are religions that are very, very often in the course of history imposed upon other people. So, as we have this, and also the fact that the Slavic-speaking countries are almost united, except now for Yugoslavia and so on, but that's another topic. They are united, and they could actually, by merging their forces together against foreigners or against other religious people, manage to stabilize and also unite for a longer time. If we take a point of divergence that early, there is also the possibility that there will be many mutual influences, and in the best case, in the really best case, we could actually have a Poland as a global power taking the place of Russia, but being even a bit bigger, and being the country where all the Slavic people are orientating themselves towards. Now, that's a very ASB-like scenario. I'm going now to take another one that would actually make a bit more sense. And let's say during the history of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, you will have a king who would actually try to pursue policies to totally dismantle every power that is given or that is from the Sejm or Sejm. The Sejm, for your information, is the Polish parliament. And as you know, Poland was something as we call a noble republic or an elective monarchy. Basically, foreigners could be elected King of Poland and Grand Duke of Lithuania. You didn't have to be Polish, right? But on the other side, the nobles, they had the great power, and they even could veto things. And it is really bad upon not only apparently, but how should I say, it's really bad, especially when you have countries as Russia or Prussia or Austria who are pursuing really bad policies against you. And when they see you're not doing well, they will take advantage of it and they will totally annihilate you. So what should happen instead? We should have, let's say, a king who is trying to dismantle all the power from the parliament. They could do it by a self-made coup. So it would be actually a coup from the power to another power. A bit strange, but yeah. And probably there would be some killings of the nobles. There would be some civil wars. But to a longer extent, it would make Poland more reliable, more stable. And don't forget that the army of Poland was really small at that time, because it was mostly compromised by some nobles only. And they themselves fought against each other in different alliances. So it was actually not even a whole army of the state. Have the influence of the nobility, have it just gone or dismantle it totally. Have a king who is more absolutistic. He will of course enable similar policies as tried at least in the British Empire, or as they were done in France. Of course, you can say later on there will be again rebellions because the king will be bad. But even if you had these rebellions in France, for instance, or in other places, it never totally means that your country will just, be gone forever. Because don't forget for a fact that whenever foreigners try to to actually annex parts of Poland, the Poles will always rise up against them. They will always unite, and then at the end, when the war is done, then they will set all the differences apart. I mean, they will set the differences apart during the war, but later when they have fought it and when the battle is finished, they will then just have business as usual and then, I don't know, fight or debate, whatever. So, in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, we totally need an absolutistic king, at least, let's say, for 50 years. And until then, maybe try to have some kings who are more, let's say, not liberal, but who won't change too much, but they won't be like cruel to the population, or they will try to heal the wounds with the nobles. They will try to make again things good that were used to be bad without losing too much power. And actually, if they are playing and setting their cards right, they can even manage to take on Austria, or they could play Prussia out against Austria, which means, let's say in the east, with Russia, Poland of course will be in constant cold wars and also warm going battles. But in the west, there is a lot of potential to dismantle Prussia, as it was in the first years really weak. And if you take the true potential of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, plus let's say they will somehow have Austria on their side and saying, yeah, Prussia is a bad guy and they are playing all their influences and diplomacy right, Prussia is totally fucked up. and they will potentially lose a lot of territories and even be degraded again to just vassal status within the Polish realm. It could totally happen. When there's a rebellion within Austria-Hungary, well, it wasn't Austria-Hungary at that time, but let's say during the nation-states uprising in the 1840s, Poland could have a good potential to split up Austria amongst not only their neighbors, but also having the potential to gain a new ally as Hungary. And as you know, the friendship between Poland and Hungary is a long-lasting one, a very, very solid friendship, and they could actually expand their influence by having an independent Hungary over there. And with an independent Hungary having even parts of Croatia, let's say, Poland would have also indirect access to the Mediterranean, as well as having, of course, the access on the Baltic Sea. Germany won't be any issue, as they can play some parts of Germany out against each other, plus in before they could say to Austria, yeah, let's attack Prussia, for instance, in the very, of course, in a more erudite way, but I just portrayed as that for your own understanding. The bigger problem at that time, of course, will be Russia. But again, Russia was very, very, how should I say? They had also their times of troubles, I think, in the years of the 1700s. I'm not so sure anymore. But in there, there was actually a Polish intervention for real, where they tried to set up a king on Russia, but, you know, it failed. But let's say with a totalitarian king, well, absolutistic king in Poland, with a better army, and also with the security that you are not attacked from the west and that you can focus on the east for some time, it will pay off immensely. And having no nobles intervene on behalf of Russian influence or being paid by the Russians, that will help as well, because remember, the parliament won't have power, and in original timeline, a noble could just veto every decision. And taking this Poland as portrayed in this alternate timeline, probably it won't finish up as a superpower or global power, but it can finish off as a great power. They can have influence over the Balkans. They can potentially even gather territories of the Czechs, the Slovaks, having parts of Ukraine, having huge parts of Belarus, if not everything, of the Baltics, and maybe even of what we know today as Kaliningrad, or what was known as Königsberg, Provinz Preußen. I could even go so far and say that there would even have maybe the same western borders as today, perhaps, but the eastern borders, they would be totally expanded. And if they also play the Cossacks against the Russians will be totally fucked up in that time. The other point of divergence that could probably make Poland to, let's say, also not a great power, but an important key figure within European policies would be, firstly, you need the Russian Civil War to go really bad. Secondly, you need to have the potential support also of the Western powers, because in original timeline the Western powers didn't support the annexations of what we know as Kręże, which is everything that used to belong to Poland pre-World War II, have their support, and Poland will actually be pushed to have more, have a worse civil war within the Soviet Union, Russia. The Poles are then able to even march even more, perhaps have more support and supplies from the Western powers, because Poland was really battling with different weapon systems from Germany and then from Austria and then also from Russia, because remember it was split in 3 parts. Play out all the tiny nationalities that exist, and when, for instance, the Czechoslovakian Republic attacks them, turn it to a very bad thing for Czechoslovakia and influence the Western power in such a way that they think that Czechoslovakia is not reliable, that they don't need them, and that only with Poland they could have some kind of influence in Eastern Europe, and Poland could actually then, how should I say, establish maybe a puppet government in Czechoslovakia, take of course some Polish-speaking areas like Czechia, and follow the dream of the Międzymorze, I think it's called like this, where Piłsudski dreamed to have some kind of federation or alliance within Eastern Europe, compromising, let's say, all of Poland, all of Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Czechoslovakia, Ukraine, Belarus, even parts of, I think, Yugoslavia, Hungary, and Romania. And if that has, how should I say, potential to be created, and if Poland is able to expand the borders more on the east, giving perhaps some little autonomy more to the Ukrainians and Belarusians, they would be hugely important. And I think when we take a point of divergence so close, or closer to our reality, that would be the only one that could perhaps be, how should I say, be the most logical one to take. So, to sum it up, to have a Poland wank, try to firstly not convert to Christianity, try to take over Kievan Rus as in original timeline, but establish yourself in there as sole power. The same goes for Bohemia. And try to turn away all the Christian influence, have all the people who rebelled, or the peasants who rebelled against that, on your side, and turn it as fights, let's say, Slavic people against the bad Latin or Germanized Christian. You see my point. Then, when you have the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth established, have a king who will try by all means to have successful authoritarian control over Poland-Lithuania, have it at least for let's say 2 or 3 generations, then later on some compromises, but not too many, and play out your neighbors against each other. That's the only way how you can survive as someone who is sandwiched between big powers. And the third thing is, after World War I, have more successful campaigns within Russia, have a far worse civil war within Russia or the Russian Empire, be able to take over Czechoslovakia, or at least influence your Western allies so that Czechoslovakia on return is also influenced, be it by you or by them, and create the Międzymorze to compromise, let's say, all of Eastern Europe, almost. So, that's actually my Poland rank. I tried to not to make it too much ASB, because, well, I could also say, yeah, give Poland modern technology and they will conquer the world. You know, that wouldn't be fun. So I tried to figure out 3, let's say, realistic points of divergences that you can take. And there you have the Poland rank. The first rank Wednesday is successfully closed and finished for today. I wish you a very nice day, and I hope to see you again on my next videos here on my channel, Althistory Luxembourg. Have a nice day. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe, give a comment, give a like, and watch all the other videos that I have on my channel. Have a great day.